didn't check one thing. So, let me double. Yes, we are live. There we go. So it's Sunday morning. It's your old pal Emac. It is Adam. Ship my money share as we're getting ready to work on a dwindling slate here. We have a let's see, what do you call it? A postponement. Mother Nature on Mother's Day has taken care of the Mets and Marlins game, which is going to dramatically affect what we're doing here. Adam and I had both done some initial crunches. We have Boston and Seattle standing by to be postponed. Now, the problem with that one is these teams don't play again this season. So there's potential clearing around 2 or 3 o'clock, and that's the same sort of weather system that's hitting Baltimore area as well. Now, Baltimore and the Angels should be able to play clean if they start around 3 o'clock, it looks like, from Weather in Motion, courtesy of weather.com. So I'm guessing that one is going to go, but the Seattle-Boston one's going to be a little bit dicey, but we'll proceed as if those are going to be going. But Adam, how quickly were your crunches ruined because we had Noah Syndergaard in a phenomenal matchup today?
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually kind of glad that game was postponed because I hate Noah Syndergaard. I hate rostering him. I didn't want to roster him, and I was going to end up rostering him. So kind of glad that game's just not there.
All right. Let's see. We'll go game by game through this. We're still getting some lineups trickling in here, but let me get some of this stuff set up. A few reminders while I send out this tweet. If you've not yet signed up for Osmo, what are you waiting for? Use the promo code DFS Strategy. MLB Strategy. Get 50% off any 1-month package here at Osmo. We also have a Fred Van Vliet. He's no longer elite, Adam. I don't know that he ever was elite, but we've got a contest. So I'm going to drop that link in the chat for you guys to join the DraftKings Osmo League. So you'll need to join that league, and then you'll get the notifications when we're doing those contests. That's going to be a 40-man. It's just $1. There's about 8 spots left. If you win, you get rest of the season NBA content in addition to the normal DK payouts. And let's see, that should do it for us. So let's start off here with our first one. Adam, we've got your Baltimore Orioles going against rookie, what's his name, Canning, who is kind of intriguing, though he has not yet gone over 90 pitches in his first 2 outings. This is a matchup that we like against the Orioles, who have been performing a little bit better recently, but are still not the most fierce of teams. What do you want to do here with our first game with Canning? And he is going against John Changeup Means.
Yeah, so I mean, Canning, once again, is more favorably priced on sites that are not DraftKings. He is 7,300 on FanDuel, and I don't remember his Yahoo price. I'm trying to pull it up now. 35 on Yahoo. So those are both really appealing price tags. 8K on DraftKings is okay. The mid-range of pitcher on the slate isn't really that deep, so I expect that I will get to some Canning, especially now that all my Syndergaard exposure needs to go somewhere. His stuff is good. The Orioles aren't a great strikeout matchup, but they're not a bad one either. They're not a great, they're not a good offense overall. They have a couple good hitters in their lineup, but Canning's been, impressive. The problem is just that, again, he doesn't go deep in the games. And I think that's by design, because even if you look at his minor league game logs, he didn't throw more than 82 or 83 pitches in any outing this year. So I don't expect him to suddenly start giving us, 100 pitches in 7 or 8 innings or anything like that. But when you look at the options around him, and, you're talking about guys like Lucas Giolito or Corbin Martin making his major league debut for the Astros, there's plenty of risk in those guys too. And so I don't mind getting to some Canning where I need a pitcher in that price range.
All right. That one, yeah, this is just, it's kind of a tough one. I don't know why I should have just assumed that we weren't going to be getting New York there. So that's going to muck up my stuff as I sort through and get my recrunches going here. But now we're going to be looking at some of these mid-tier pitching. I like Canning, as you mentioned, a little more spendy on DK, but that's potentially a place where I will be going today. Looking at Means now, we've got him going against the Angels. The Angels actually have the lowest strikeout rate against lefties. They also have the lowest strikeout rate against righties this season, and it's significantly lower than even the second second best team by 2 or 3%. So that's something that we'll want to take note of. Shohei Ohtani is not in the lineup today, but Justin Bour is. You've got Pujols, Cole Calhoun, Fletcher, our usual guys here. They're not cheap, though, particularly Trout, Fletcher, Simmons, and Calhoun. They're all 4,500 or more on DraftKings. Do you have any interest in the Angels today?
Yeah, I do. For one, we're probably going to lose the Red Sox, which is one of the higher upside stacks on the slate and opens up more exposure for the Angels. But also, Means has a good changeup. He has one good pitch, and when it's on, like we saw in his last start, which I believe was against Boston, he can be really good, even against good right-handed hitters. But when you have one pitch, you don't have a lot of room for error. And that means that there's a lot of upside taking hitters against you. Also, as you said, the Angels do not have strikeouts in their lineup. And Means changeup has been hit pretty hard this year in terms of expected ISO when it's actually been hit. It's just that it has a huge swinging strike percentage. And when it's on, it sets up everything else. So there's certainly upside here. It's a bad Orioles bullpen behind Means, as we know. So yeah, I'm definitely interested in the Angels. Mike Trout, it goes without saying, but getting the guys like Pujols and Simmons hitting in the middle of this order, even Kevin Smith, as a catching option, batting sixth, is perfectly fine at a relatively inexpensive price tag.
All right. Yeah, it's gonna more or less wrap it up for this one. Let's. We're still gonna hit on the Seattle and Boston one, but it's kind of sad. I was looking forward to going with Seattle against Boston. Hector Velasquez is going to be starting today. We have Seattle. Adam is the number one team with the most runs scored in all of Major League Baseball. Do you know they are also the number one team with the most runs allowed in all of Major League Baseball with a minus? I think going into last night after the Boston game, it was a -7 differential, but they're leading the league in both scoring and runs allowed. So I really like their lineup. You get some salary relief here. D. Gordon is banged up. They think he probably will avoid going on the DL, but they called up both of their top prospects, position players this weekend. So J.P. Crawford batting second, 3,600. Shed Long is second baseman. He is batting ninth, but I was considering that for a potential wraparound stack here. I really liked Encarnacion and Vogelbach going against Velasquez. Now, Velasquez is in the process of kind of getting stretched out. I figure he'll probably go about 60 or so pitches today if this game were to play. So there will be more guys coming in from the bullpen there. But Seattle is relatively well equipped with at least with their veterans, are pretty good against righties and also pretty good against lefties. So you're not losing a ton if the handedness changes of the pitchers here. Saying this game plays, what do you like here from Seattle for starters?
J.P. Crawford does offer some value batting second at shortstop at a cheap price tag. So I'm with you there. And then it's really just, tournament plays, getting to these high upside bats in a park that plays up right-handed power. Guys like Encarnacion, Domingo Santana, Mitch Haniger, all hitting in the top 5 of this order. Jay Bruce batting 7th would be a good tournament play just because he does have so much power. He does have the platoon advantage against Velasquez, and we know that people are very hesitant to go to hitters batting towards the bottom of the order, no matter how popular a stack is. And I don't expect Seattle to be that popular anyway. So you would get a lot of upside from Bruce at low ownership, but it would mainly be looking to right-handed power here. Even though Velasquez is right-handed and does a good job of limiting power to righties, the park just plays up right-handed power so well that if you're going here in tournaments, that's where you want to be focusing.
Yeah, you'd love to see Encarnacion or Haniger bang one off the Green Monster, get a double there.
Preferably hit it over because home runs are good.
Well, yes, but the Green Monster, it's a monster. It's tall, Adam.
Yes, it is.
It's tall. Marco Gonzalez. I like him. Fine pitcher. Scared of going against the Red Sox. Now, he is more of a ground ball pitcher than anything else. Does not have a ton of strikeouts as a result, but the Red Sox don't strike out a lot themselves either. It's let's see. There's their confirmed lineup. It's the usual guys that we're used to seeing in the top 6. There with kind of the Steve Pearson against a lefty. He's 3,100. That'd be a nice little cheap outfield play on DraftKings, assuming this one were to go. Any interest in Gonzalez, or would you kind of hinted that you were looking more towards the Reds here, or probably the Red Sox here?
Yeah, I mean, if this game went, I would have interest in the Red Sox just because, for one, they're really good. I do think Marco Gonzalez is a good pitcher. He's not someone that I love targeting against, but he is a fly ball pitcher going into Fenway against a bunch of right-handed power that, considering how good they are, they're affordable. I mean, you have JD Martinez on DraftKings at $4,800. He should probably be close to $1,000 more against just about any left-handed pitcher or any pitcher, but especially any left-handed pitcher. Mookie at 5,200 is reasonably priced considering what Mookie brings you. You have Michael Chavis with a ton of power batting sixth. You have Bogarts cleaning up at a reasonable price tag. It's just a really high upside stack in a favorable park that is, really suited to their lineup. And it's a pitcher in Gonzalez who his style of pitching plays better in Seattle than it does in Fenway Park.
So sad. This one's not going to be a go. So sad. Let's see. We've got now one of the interesting things that we have in our projections, courtesy of Tom and Osimo, Alex Baker, and of course 1-800-EDDIE doing the MLB projections here. But they've also got a postponement ranking, and they are indicating that there is a 75% chance that this game is postponed. So that would be one of those tricky ones that they would, if they do postpone it, they'll have to make it up on some sort of common off day, which is a little tricky considering these two teams are on the opposite side of the country from one another, and the Red Sox are almost always in the playoff mix, so every game tends to count down the stretch. So we'll see. I don't think. Do you think? Do you think they'll actually postpone it before lock?
I don't know.
Yeah. All right. I don't think they're going to. I think it'll be. It's going to be, hey, to borrow a baseball term, the suicide squeeze here. If they postpone it, it'll probably be around 2 or 3 o'clock, would be my guess, as they throw their hands in the air and say, yeah, this one's not going to happen. All right, on to some games here that do not have weather issues. Adam, we're going up north. We're going into Toronto. The Rogers Center here, you have Lucas Giolito going against Aaron Sanchez. Sanchez, not always a ton of strikeouts because he's a ground ball pitcher, but that keeps him from getting destroyed all that often. He is very nicely priced, Adam, at $6,900. And you've got Lucas Giolito on the other side here going against Toronto, who has not been fierce yet this season. Lucas Giolito, a roller coaster ride. The pucker factor, as I like to say, is high when you are rostering Lucas Giolito. What do you want to do with the pitching in this game? Because finally we have a climate-controlled environment here.
Yeah, it's two pitchers that at different points I've been very high on in the past. They both have good stuff. They both have their issues, but they're both in pretty nice matchups today. And as I mentioned when we talked about Griffin Canning, the mid-range of pitching really is not deep on this slate. So they both have some appeal to me. Sanchez is the lower strikeout guy. He has good stuff. He should be a better strikeout pitcher than he is, but he's never put that together. Like you said, he does get a lot of ground balls, tends to struggle more with lefties than righties, which is a little concerning when you're talking about, Garcia, Moncada, and Alonso being three of the top 4 hitters in this lineup. Moncada and Alonso in particular, I think, can give Sanchez some trouble. But he is cheaper than the Griffin Canning, Corbin Martin, Lucas Giolito range on DraftKings, where you have to get that second pitcher. So he's getting into some lineups there just because the White Sox do offer strikeout upside, and because he is, $1,100 to $1,400 cheaper than that range of pitchers. It's not with a lot of confidence, but you kind of just have to take what you're given on slates like this. And then on the other side with Giolito, he's more expensive than I would like, but I do have interest for a couple of reasons. For one, Toronto has just been absolutely awful this year. They have the highest strikeout percentage in baseball against right-handed pitching. They have just been really bad. Eric Sogard is not in the lineup, which makes a big difference for me when considering pitchers against them, because he just fights off so many pitches. He's really difficult to strike out. He drives up your pitch count single-handedly. He's not in there. So I think that is a benefit for Giolito. But also this year, he's throwing his changeup more than he has in previous years. He's up to a 22% usage rate on that pitch. It's been higher than that over his last couple of starts. And that's a pitch that he really needs to throw a lot. They get swinging strikes. It's a really good pitch for him. And the more he throws that, the more successful I expect him to be. So far this season, he has been inconsistent, but he does have a 29% swing or 29% strikeout percentage. And that obviously gives you a lot of upside at this price point against the Toronto offense. So I do expect that a decent amount of my Noah Syndergaard exposure now turns into Giolito just as a high upside option.
Yeah, and that's Yeah, as I'm looking here, I'm running stacks without the New York game, but I'm still getting my number 2 and my number 4 stacks are Boston and Seattle, so I got to get rid of those because that's going to change everything dramatically here. Getting a boatload of Blake Snell. He is coming in, which is where a lot of, I mean, he would already be popular, but I ran this uncapped at him and I got 90% Snell, which is just, I'll tamp that down. We've got a couple other guys we'll talk about in the mid tier here, but Sanchez is coming in at number 2 for me, and then Canning and Martin Perez are 3 and 4. So what we'll want to do here is we've got an hour and a half before, or a little bit longer before we have first pitch. We'll have some more weather information made available to us, etc. But again, that Boston one, we'll just have to see. Now, the one, I still think they're going to do their best to get it in, just because these guys don't face each other anymore. But it makes it harder to go heavy on that game because it could be played wet, it could be played through some delays, etc. I'm looking at the hitters on both sides of that, but it's kind of mucking with my crunches here. Looking at the offenses here, you did touch on Yonder Alonso, very nicely priced at 3,300. It's a fun little discount there. On the other side here, we still have Vlad Guerrero Jr. waiting to get his first magnificent performance in the show. You've got Justin Smoke, Rowdy Tellez, Grichuk, who is just fine in righty-righty matchups. If you're going to go against Giolito, is that kind of your core 4 that you're looking at there, 2 through 5?
Yeah, so I want to specifically point out Guerrero because I think he's about to finally figure it out and go on a tear. Just watching his at-bats now, he is having really good at-bats. Whether, I mean, he hit a ball 118 miles per hour yesterday. It was, a line drive single. But even more impressive than that was like his next at-bat, he got behind 0-2 and then had a couple of really good takes, fouled off some tough pitches, worked a walk. He's looking really good at the plate, and I think it's sooner rather than later that we really see him break out. The price tag's dropping because of his poor performance so far. So, that obviously makes it really appealing, and I expect I'll get to a lot of him. But also, just because like I have interest in Giolito because of the upside, the downside on Giolito is really low, and Toronto is really cheap. Giolito is someone who can go out there and walk a ton of guys, has about an 11% walk percentage this year. There's certainly a ton of blow up risk for him. And when you lose potentially Boston and Seattle as high upside offenses, and then you factor in, the price tags and upside for Toronto, I am going to be getting to them as, especially as full stacks.
All right. I want to call up our ownership here. We just got an update, and someone had been mentioning to them that it felt like the Toronto ownership was pretty high. So let's just look at that for a second here. So it's not overly high. They're about 10 or 15%. I think a big function of it is just the discounted pricing. I mean, especially on DK, is where I'm focusing here. Danny Jansen at 13%. He's 2,500. Freddie Galvis leading off 13%. Grichuk 3,900, 14%. Vlad 20%. Sanchez 30%. Yeah, they've been disappointing, but as Adam mentioned, Giolito is any outcome is really in play. I mean, he's not Dylan Covey horrible, and he's not Ronaldo Lopez infuriating, but he has harnessed things and looked good for stretches, but he also has been poor at times. So I can see why people are kind of getting to that, because I think we're going to talk about 2 pitchers here in a second, where that's where a lot of that salary cap's being allocated, and they need some cheap hitters. And if you're going to do a stack, you can get some discounted guys that are in the top half of the lineup. And I think that's kind of the function of where people are going to Toronto on. Our next game here, another one indoors. This is Tropicana Field. We have the New York Yankees going against the Rays. We have the Yankees. Now, granted, they're missing a bunch of their guys, but just a 3 implied run total against our favorite Cy Young candidate, the Snellevator, Blake Snell. Wow, I was not expecting to see the Yankees with a 3.0 implied run total, even though it is Snell, and even though it is a great ballpark here. Looking at the Yankees lineup, Giovanni Urshela batting 3rd, Maben is 6th, Tyro Estrada is 7th. I have no idea who that is. And then Romine's in today. So this is a pretty weakened lineup here. What do you want to do with Snell? How much Snell is too much Snell on today's slate now that we've lost Caleb Smith and Noah Syndergaard?
Yeah, I mean, now that we don't have Syndergaard or Smith, which it's a really good point because it kind of I hadn't even really put two and two together that it was the same game, and then I was losing like two of my 40% of pitchers.
The coffee hasn't kicked in yet, Adam. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I'm going to get to a ton of Snell. There's really no way around it here. Especially, you talk about losing those pitchers. You talk about potentially losing the Red Sox offense. You run out of places to spend money, and Snell is clearly the top projected pitcher on the slate for me, especially against this Yankees lineup. We knew that they wouldn't have Judge or Stanton since they're on the injured list, but no Gary Sanchez in the lineup, no Gleyber Torres in the lineup. You have basically the worst possible lineup that the Yankees could run out there. Like, you still have power in Voit. You have Urshela, who's hit really well this year, and you have Clint Frazier and Andujar. They're all fine. But outside of that, there's nothing in this lineup. And even those guys, are not people that I would give the advantage over Snell, especially in this ballpark. It was really good to see Snell have a great outing his last time out. He had struggled in his first couple of starts since coming back from his broken toe. Still only threw 83 pitches in that start, but I'm not too concerned about that. I expect that number will keep trending up. So no reasons for me not to like Snell here. I'll probably have similar amounts of Snell as I did DeGrom last night, which was 100%. So if Snell has a bad game, I'm having a bad slate.
All right. On the other side here, Masahiro Tanaka, good pitcher, but not in the Snell category. I still would have ranked Syndergaard and Smith ahead of him. But here he is. He is going against Tampa Bay. Now, Tampa Bay, this is not the same, Tampa Bay lineup that we've seen in the last couple seasons. No real household names, but these guys are all pretty pesky. Austin Meadows returning from the injured list. He is batting leadoff. You have Tommy Pham, who has some good power against righties. He is second. Yi-Min Choi is batting third. He's also got some good power here. I was considering him being my home run call of the day, Adam. Still thinking about that. Yandy Diaz, Brandon Lowe, Avisel Garcia, Kevin Kiermaier. Kiermaier 3,700. That's intriguing. And Kiermaier always hits home runs on Sunday. No real method to the madness of backing that up, but it is Sunday and it is Kiermaier, so I'm saying he's going to hit a home run today. What do you want to do going for or against Masahiro Tanaka?
It's tough because in the past, I would have had a ton of interest in Tanaka here, but he just really hasn't been the same this season. His strikeout percentage is at 21.5%, which is down like 4 or 5 percentage points. His swinging strike percentage is at 9%, which is, again, much lower than we're used to from him. He's normally one of the league leaders in swinging strike percentage, and his issue is that he just grooves too many pitches and gives up home runs. This year, he's not even getting the strikeouts, so it's been really weird. I don't really want to get to him here. Tampa Bay is an offense that I respect a lot. They don't strike out all that much, and they do have good hitters in their lineup. The loss of Smith and Syndergaard obviously increases the chances that I get to Tanaka, just because you could only roster so much, Griffin Canning and the other guys. So, he's fine. Like, he could go out and do what he's done most of his career, but that hasn't been the case this season, and he's still not that inexpensive. So I don't think I end up getting to a whole lot of Tanaka.
All right. Anything else from this game, or shall we continue on?
No, we can keep going.
All right, we've got, oh God, I keep hitting the wrong button here. We've got the Detroit Tigers going against the Minnesota Twins. Here's where we're going to talk a little bit about more pitching, because Martin Perez, suddenly, he's got a fastball, Adam. He's got a fastball that ticks above 95 now, which is very nice. And in theory, I have tried to confirm this, but he was on the paternity list, should be making a start today. That means it's a baby game. What are we going to do with this? Newfound pitch, newfound child, and he's going against the Detroit Tigers, who are not good at all. They're just lacking consistent power. When I think outside of Castellanos, I think their next best hitter against lefties is John Hicks. So don't at me, but I'm not going to talk about Miguel Cabrera today, who's on pace for 5 home runs and 70 RBIs this season. What do you want to do with Martin Perez at 8,500 on DK?
Yeah, I mean, he pretty quickly jumped up to being my second best pitcher on the slate once Smith and Syndergaard were postponed. I mean, he's been absolutely phenomenal this year. His cutter gives up basically no power. His fastball velocity, like you said, is up to about 95 miles an hour. You have a lot of strikeouts in the Detroit lineup, and obviously a lot of righties, but not overly concerned about that just because Perez has had so much success against righties this year. The cutter is a pitch that gives them trouble, and he has just been really, really good. It gets scary when the price tag on guys like Perez that have kind of come out of nowhere with adjustments and improvements. When the price tag starts to rise, it gets scary because we still have a very small sample size of Martin Perez being this pitcher, and we have a very large sample size of Martin Perez being bad. But not a lot of options on this slate. I do buy into his current numbers because we do see significant changes, in his pitch types and in his velocity.
So it was the cutter that he added, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So why is there such a difference in, I mean, I know he went away less on the fastball, and less on the curve, but is throwing the cutter, like a quarter of the time, a third of the time?
35%, yeah.
When did that, or I mean, what, in your analysis, why is that making such a difference when balanced against the rest of his pitching portfolio going against these teams?
I mean, it gives him a pitch that he can work in the righties. I think that having the increased fastball velocity combined with the cutter makes a difference too. It would be one thing if his four-seam fastball was 88 miles an hour and so is his cutter, but you have a velocity difference between the cutter and the fastball. You have a movement difference between the cutter and the fastball. So it kind of, I mean, it moves similarly to a slider. So you're getting a pitch that looks like a fastball out of his hand, but is at a different velocity and gets in on righties. It's not that it gets a ton of swings and misses. And that would be my one concern with Perez, is that, he does still only have a 22.8% strikeout percentage. It's more that he's giving up really, really weak contact, and he's getting enough strikeout. He's getting more strikeouts than he did in the past. I still don't think he's like a super high strikeout pitcher, just, better than he was before and good enough for this slate.
All right. Remembering that this was a double header yesterday, we have, just looking at the bullpen usage here for the Tigers, Victor Alcantara and Reed Garrett and Daniel Stumpf did not pitch, so they are all going to be available. Shane Green had just 12 pitches, Blaine Hardy 16, so they're probably fine to go. Looking at the Twins, Parker and Rogers did not pitch. Trevor May and Mike Moran had 7 apiece, so bullpen should be relatively okay. Sometimes that's something we want to just keep an eye on after doubleheaders in case one of the pitchers gets run out early. You want to see what is available coming behind them, but it seems like they do have some arms here. Daniel Norris never really has quite put it all together. Adam, he's had moments that make us think that he's, a phenomenal lefty who was drafted, when he was, 19 or 20 years old. But he has just 310 career innings, so that surprised me. I thought it would be more than that. But he's got a 4.5 ERA, 3.4 walks per 9, and that's, mediocre. The 8.1 strikeouts per 9 is solid. But his results are literally just all over the map. If you go in and look at his game logs, all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, this guy's finally figured it out. Or, good God, this guy could be the next Lucas Giolito, Dylan Covey, etc. What are we doing with Daniel Norris? Because we do have Willens Astudillo is back, the guy who never strikes out or walks. You've got Nelson Cruz, CJ Cron. This is a tough lineup here. What do you want to do with Norris at 6,800? He does give a little bit of value, and he does have some strikeout upside.
So I did want to point one thing out that I forgot to mention previously from the Toronto game, and I thought about it when you talked about the bullpen usage in this game. Toronto's bullpen is shot after their last 2 games. The only 3 pitchers who didn't throw a bunch of pitches 2 games ago worked a lot yesterday. Guerra, Law, and Luciano all threw over 20 pitches. So there's 2 things at play there. For one, Aaron Sanchez is going to go as deep into that game as he possibly can, which is obviously good for rostering Sanchez. But also, if Sanchez struggles and can't go deep into that game, it's a really high upside spot for Chicago stacks. So I just wanted to point out that. As far as the Detroit-Minnesota game, it is a really, really tough spot for Norris. Astudillo being back and hitting leadoff basically by himself takes Norris out of play for me, because you're just talking about a guy who's not going to strike out, is going to drive up pitch counts, just fouling pitches off because he doesn't walk either, and he's leading off, so he's going to get the most at bats on the team. really does make a difference. Not that I was going to be high on Norris anyway, but it certainly knocks him down even further for me. And it's pretty much the best lineup Minnesota could run out with, 5 righties at the top. And all of them are, good. So it's a tough spot. I do like Minnesota. The weak bullpen behind Norris, who, like you said, is very hit or miss, which is the case for a lot of pitchers on the slate. But he's another, boomer bust guy. But behind him is a Tigers bullpen that ranks in the bottom 10 in xFIP and gives up a lot of home runs. So it's a really high upside spot for Minnesota.
All right, let's move on to our next one here. We have, let's see, Texas at Houston. We have, of course, no worries about weather here because they do have the covered roof if needed. We've got 4.2 implied run total for Texas, 5.9 implied run total for Houston. Houston is going against Adrian Sampson, who is just not a good pitcher. On the other side, we have Corbin Martin, who is making his debut. Have you looked into Martin at all?
Yeah, I think he's got a chance to be good. He has a 12.7% swinging strike rate at AAA this year, a strikeout percentage up around 29%. He has a good slider, a good changeup, so he has a pitch that can get lefties out. I do think he has a chance to be good. I don't know how deep into the game he goes. The most pitches he threw at AAA this year was 90, and that was in his second or third start. So, I would expect 85, 90 pitches out of him. He's not in the FanDuel player pool. He is 8K on DraftKings, which wasn't really that appealing when I crunched my lineups earlier. Now it's much more appealing. The Texas lineup is kind of interesting as far as construction goes because you don't have Joey Gallo, which obviously takes away their best hitter, but it also takes away 30+% strikeouts for Martin. So from an upside standpoint, that's not great. You have Connor Falefa in there. You have Cabrera in there. Guys that don't strike out quite as much. So but overall, I think it's a good lineup for him because you do still have Ronald Guzman, who's a strikeout guy, not as good a hitter as Gallo in his place. It's still a decent spot for Martin. On Yahoo, he's $25, the absolute minimum. That's the best place to roster him. Obviously, he's a much better pitcher than that price tag.
All right, and the implied total just ticked up. It is now 6 for Houston. Adam, they must have heard you talking. Clearly, you drive the markets.
Yeah.
With regards to stacking, Houston is probably going to be tops today just because of their position eligibility, their pricing, and the matchup. No Jose Altuve, of course. He's dinged up, but are you willing to just roll with the masses here on the top 5? With Houston, or do you want to try to differentiate a little bit with Gurriel or Ledmus Diaz, who's solid against same-handed pitching?
I mean, I want to differentiate, of course, but you can do that multiple ways within a lineup. One thing worth pointing out, and it's not to get you off of Houston or anything like that, because you want to keep in mind that when you look into pitch type data, it's just a data point. It's not the end all be all or anything like that. But Sampson, while he is really, really bad, doesn't get strikeouts, doesn't limit power to righties. He basically throws his sinker like 50+% of the time to right-handed hitters. If you go on Baseball Savant and you go to their StatCast search and you look at the Houston hitters against like 92 to 95 mile an hour right-handed sinkers, it's like the worst StatCast search I've ever seen. Almost all of them have ISOs below 100 over the last 3 years and very low expected WOBAs as well. So it is concerning. And if you're looking for a reason, like if you're hand building one lineup, and it's tough for you to get off of Houston because how do they fail? You can look to that. It's not to say don't roster Houston or anything. Like I will have plenty of Houston. It's just that there is at least one data point that points to Sampson possibly being able to, get by in this game.
All right. What has gotten into Hunter Pence? Is he just finally healthy? Is this just a random hot stretch? I believe he has home runs like 4 of his last 5 games, including last night.
Yeah, he's hitting really well. I don't really know what the reasoning is, but certainly better than he has been in years past. I'm sure part of that, getting out of San Francisco helps. But he had just been a really bad hitter for years, and now he's turned things around. He's off to a great start. It's tough to pay an expensive price tag for him, especially in a matchup where I think the opposing pitcher is good, but there's no denying that he's hitting really well right now.
All right, just looking at his prices: 23 on Yahoo, 89 on Fantasy Draft, 48 on DK, 38 on FanDuel. Hey, I mean, what are you gonna do here? What are you gonna do? And he does have, home runs in 4 of his last 5. He's got 11 RBI during that stretch, 3 walks, just 3 strikeouts. So hey, props to him for getting it done there. I'm gonna drop it in the chat here. This is, and I have to drop the link to my pinned tweet, because if I put the link into the Osmo DK League here, it will not be a hyperlink. But jump on in that. That's the Osmo DK League. We're running some special contests here. Today's added prize in the Fred Van Vliet contest is if you win, you get rest of the season basketball content. Once basketball turns over, we'll start doing some stuff for baseball, but we're not going to send out the game links anymore. So you need to join this group, and then you'll be alerted when we post the games. But if you're an Osmo member and you already have your NBA package, if you have an Osmo avatar and you win, we'll get you a t-shirt. So everybody gets something. Speaking of t-shirts, Adam, I am wearing my official What Would Sean V Do t-shirt again today.
Great shirt.
Pardon?
I said that's a great shirt.
It's amazing. And sadly, I've tried to change the lighting in here. My wife made this one for me. Unfortunately, we went with the red, so you can't really read what it says. What would Sean V do? But it's a good shirt. It's a good shirt. So we might have to get a lighter color here. But it's one of a kind, and I did well. I wore it for the early games, and I did really well. And then I changed, and I did very badly on the late games in NASCAR. So clearly,
I need to wear. Is that actually a shirt that you have?
Pardon?
Are you being serious?
You can't see me because unless you were watching the YouTube. Yeah, I have a shirt. It's got.
Okay, I thought you were just making this up.
Oh, would I ever make up something like that? Yes, I would. But this is reality here. So we'll have to see. I'll show you after the show when I turn off the camera here, or turn the camera back on the room here. But anyway, yes. So it's my new good luck shirt. So we'll see. We'll see if day 2 things can continue. All right, on to our next game here. We've got 2 left, and we'll just quickly mention a few things about that with the late slate. But we've got Pittsburgh at St. Louis. Stephen Brault going against Dakota Hudson. I am going with Harrison Bader as my home run call of the day. He's leading off. He's 3,500. He has immense power, and he should get at least 3 shots against Brault, so I'm liking him for a home run. What do you want to do here with either pitcher? Okay, we're done talking about the pitchers. What do you want to do with the hitters?
I love the Cardinals here. I love their lineup. I love their prices. I like the matchup. I love everything about St. Louis here because you get, you mentioned Bader at the top. He's, I think, one of the better value plays on the slate. He is someone that when he does hit the ball, he hits it hard, he hits it far. He has plenty of upside. But you have a really nice price tag on Paul Goldschmidt. You also get your shortstop and catcher positions covered in the stack with Yachty and Paul DeJong. DeJong being the most expensive hitter in the lineup, but he is really good. And, it's not that hard to spend money on the slate anymore. So I absolutely love the Cardinals here. I expect that they, won't be all that popular because you do have Houston. So, I really like getting to St. Louis.
Yeah, and I think this is just, for all the reasons you mentioned, this is going to be a nice one. I don't know that on a 7-game Sunday slate anything's truly sneaky, but if people are not paying attention, I could see the Cardinals be a little less popular than what I will be going with them on. And I did get the Sean V seal of approval. He says Bader's a bad call. He can't hit home runs in Busch Stadium. He's horrible in that park. Perfect. That's what I want to hear. Thank you, Sean. So that's why I'm sticking with Bader. I'm doubling down. Looking to the other side here, we don't have the lineup yet for Pittsburgh, but Frazier, Polanco, Bell are going to be going from the left side of the plate if they're in. The Milkman, Melky Cabrera, is still there. He's 3,500. You got Francisco Cervelli at 2,700. He's usually someone who can get on base. Colin Moran at 3,400. Dakota Hudson, just not great. But not a lot of love here from Vegas with just a 3.8 implied run total here for the Pirates. What do you like amongst our Bucks here?
Yeah, mostly looking to lefties against Hudson, and you do have some good ones in the Pittsburgh lineup. Gregory Polanco is still affordable, so I like him quite a bit. Josh Bell is expensive, but he seems to have really turned a corner. He's fine. He was a top hitting prospect back when he came up, and the power just never really been there. But so far this year, obviously the numbers are exceptional against right-handed pitching with a 441 WOBA and a 379 ISO. But his expected stats are right in line with those numbers. 432 expected WOBA, 349 expected ISO. He's really, really hitting well. And so I'm willing to pay that price tag for him, especially in this matchup against Hudson, who has really, really struggled with left-handed power. 299 expected ISO, 446 expected WOBA against lefties so far this season for Hudson. He's been really good against righties. He's been really bad against lefties. And there are a couple of good lefties in the Pittsburgh lineup here. Adam Frazier probably leading off is a good play as well.
All right, let's see. Final game of the early slate. We have some nice contests out there. There's four gamers at 2:00, a 4-gamer at 3:00. If you check out the Spotlight Hitters and Stacks article there on the Osmo homepage, it is free. 2, it's got a stack recommended for each of the games. And 3, you're going to find the link to get your Yahoo referral bonus deposit bonus there in the second paragraph. If you click that link and use the promo code OSMO, you will get up to $30 matched with your initial DFS deposit. That will come in the form of Yahoo Sports rewards points, which are available for immediate use into any contest. Speaking of contests, Adam, I would not have expected a 10 implied run total here in Kauffman Stadium with 60-degree weather. We have Cole Irvin making his debut here for the Phillies. He is one of the higher rated prospects in their farm system. And then you've got Jake Junis going for the Royals. 5.2 implied run total here for Philadelphia, which, nice for them. They don't have to worry about having the pitcher hit. They get a DH, so that helps them out. Gets Maikel Franco and Nick Williams in the lineup instead of having to sit one of them. Going against Junis, mixed bag. Had some home run problems for the first half of last season. Kind of those sort of went away, but I don't really want to go to him in this matchup. On the other side, I was excited for the Royals yesterday, Adam, but we saw a complete game shutout against them at their expense. But here they are sitting with the 5 implied run total today. What do you want to do? Let's start off with the pitching. Yay or nay on either of these guys?
Yeah, I'm good on the pitching. I don't really see the need to get to either one. Irvin, not a high strikeout guy, doesn't walk a lot of guys, but not the sort of guy that translates to high upside at the major league level for DFS purposes. It's not. We know what Kansas City's lineup is at this point. If you can navigate your way through the top, you get some favorable matchups at the bottom, but the top is really, really dangerous. And so I'm not really looking to get to Irvin here. It doesn't really feel necessary on this slate. And then on the other side, Junis, it's just a tough matchup for him. He gets some strikeouts, but his strikeout numbers are actually down this year, a sub 20% strikeout percentage so far. He gives up home runs. His home run per 9 is right in line with last season, and just a lot of really good hitters in the Philadelphia lineup. We didn't get a watered down, Sunday lineup from them. We actually got probably the best lineup they've had all year with, Nick Williams, and they're batting 9th, another guy that has some power. It's just a really deep lineup top to bottom. So I absolutely love the Phillies here against Junis because he gives up home runs, and against the Kansas City bullpen that just isn't very good.
All right. That's going to kind of run it there for our main slate. We, of course, have projections, popularity ratings, all the good stuff, rankings from Osimo himself behind the paywall in the premium section there. I'm just looking at this Boston weather. Yeah, it's not looking great, but again, it's the only time those teams are playing, so we'll have to see. I suspect we will not have a postponement by lock. It will probably occur after lock if it is going to happen. I would think they'll wait until around. It looks like it potentially could get a teeny bit better in the 3 o'clock hour. Same thing with Baltimore. It looks like, and I'm hearing the weather pattern that Baltimore's in as well. It was raining just hard all morning. However, around 2:30 or 3 o'clock, it's gonna clear up and it's gonna be nice the rest of the day. So I suspect Baltimore will play. They'll just be in a delay. similar to what we saw with Pittsburgh and St. Louis the other day. Looking overarching thoughts on our slate here. Anything that you missed, Adam, and then I'll throw out a few things for the late slate here.
Just wanted to touch a little bit more on Kansas City that I do like them against Irvin here, especially at the top of the order. Whit Merrifield, obviously really good. Adalberto Mondesi's really good. Hunter Dozier's figured out how to hit. Jorge Soler has massive power. So that 1 through 5 gives you a lot of upside. And then you get to really cheap guys with, Gutierrez and Chris Owings and, Cam Gallagher. So I think it's a pretty easy team to stack, and it'll let you get creative and, mix in either really good one-offs with them or really good pitching or the best pitching you can get on the slate, I guess. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that I actually do like Kansas City quite a bit.
All right. In chat, Kyle Aguilar says, Josh Beckett's coming with some chicken and beer for the gang. Get loaded all day and play under the lights in Fenway today. There you go. Hey, that's how they do it if it was a softball tournament and this was the championship game. So.
Bringing back John Lackey too.
Yes. All right, so here's the unique thing. Yahoo is the only site that has the San Diego, Colorado game on a slate today, Adam, because it's a 3 o'clock. It's the lone 3 o'clock outpost game. The four gamers, I didn't go look back and look at FanDuel, but on DK, they're ignoring it outside of a showdown slate today. That's kind of interesting. In this one, we've got Nick Margevicius going against Antonio Senzatella. Should be reasonably good matchups here, up and down both sides of these lineups. It's going to be about 70 degrees at first pitch. Margevicius, watching him, I mean, yeah, he's clearly a major league pitcher. He's not, I just don't think this is a good matchup for him, particularly if we get Story Arenado and Reynolds and Ian Desmond in the lineup today. That could just give him some fits. On the other side, Antonio Senzatella, yeah, not overly exciting there. Machado, Franmil Reyes, Hunter Renfroe. We saw Renfroe hit a home run last night off John Gray, which I was not expecting, but this is another good matchup for them. And Renfroe just has amazing numbers against righties. So keep that in mind. When we get over here to the San Francisco game, you've got, this is the 4-game late slate. You got Tyler Mahle going against Madsen Bumgarner. A lot of rumblings about Bumgarner maybe getting traded. He doesn't really want to get traded. He can block trades to 8 teams. He has listed all the contenders in his contract. So that is a savvy move on his part, because those are teams he'd likely be traded to. So he'll oftentimes, to waive that clause, you get like a 5 or a 10% kicker on your remaining contract, etc. So there are some financial incentives there. So smart on him, but not really the best matchup or best park for hitting. It's a 7 implied run total, Adam. So that's pretty low. I guess we could look to either of the pitchers in that one. Oakland, this one's interesting. You got Jeffrey Rodriguez going against Daniel Mengden. I'm not a fan of Daniel Mengden. I would rather, so I'm really liking the Cleveland hitters. I wish the Oakland guys were healthy. Over the last week, Chris Davis has 2 pinch hitting appearances. That's it. He's dealing with a sore hip. He's supposedly going to play today. He's been in the list projected lineups all week, and he gets pulled before that happens. Matt Olson is back, but remember, he broke his hamate bone. He's been back for a few games, so your mileage may vary on that one. I haven't used that one in a few shows. I hope Laffy somehow senses a disturbance in the force, but I think I want to go with Cleveland here. In the Nationals game, Strasburg has looked great. However, the Dodgers are fantastic against righties. That doesn't feel like a nice spot for him. On the other side, Hyun-Jin Ryu going against the Nationals, somewhat intriguing. We got to see Gerardo Parra hit a grand slam last night at $2,600 to hook us up on DK. And then the last game is Atlanta and Arizona. I'm not really a fan of the pitching in this one. I believe the roof will be open today, but I'm looking more for the hitters. As you just kind of glance at the afternoon slate, anything that you like to see?
First, I'm really offended that you don't like Max Fried, because
okay, I kind of set that up for you there.
Yeah, I mean, not that I love the matchup for him. I just think he's a good pitcher, and I'm sure I'll have some on the 4-gamer. The one thing that does stand out and that I'll be digging into more, Daniel Mangden is someone that I've always thought should be better. Like, his stuff looked better than his results. So far at AAA this year, he's striking out greater than 10 batters per 9 innings. So I probably will end up rolling the dice on a cheap Daniel Mangden on the 4-game slate.
All right. The roof will be open. It's going to be 85 at first pitch here in Arizona. Yeah, you and Laffy like Mangden.
Yeah, it never translated to consistent success, but his stuff always seemed good, and it didn't really make a whole lot of sense why he wasn't better. But so far at AAA this year, like a 27 or 28% strikeout percentage.
Yeah, which is always good to see on that one. Was it the Nashville? Is AAA Nashville? Is that where he was pitching?
It used to be Nashville, now it's Las Vegas.
Oh, I did not realize.
13% swinging strike rate
Ooh,
in 39 innings.
That's solid.
Also, 53.5% ground ball percentage. I see
Perhaps
a
the
lot
breakout is coming, Adam.
I see a lot of Daniel Mangden in my
I
time plans.
darn you. I'm all right. I'm still taking Cleveland as one of my favorite stacks, but you got to play 2 pitchers. There are just 8 of them, so. And I'm not a huge fan of Madsen Bumgarner current iteration, so damn it. Maybe I should shave to a mustache and wax it like Mangden does.
Yeah, he's got the old school A's look.
Yes, the 1800s look. But with that, we are going to get on out of here. Again, we've got all sorts of content behind the paywall for this. You'll get a show today from Fast Eddie Fear. I want to say it's, I think, 2 o'clock. This might be one of his last shows. Well, I'm sure he'll do 1 for the finals or 2 for the finals. But 2 Game 7s today, so you got some exciting basketball on tap. Hockey's down to playing. They're alternating their championship series every other day. So we've got hockey for about the next 6 days straight, single game slates. We've got projections for that. I missed it by that much to cleaning up on hockey last night. It was right there until the end. Adam, I had a couple of the obscure guys that did well, and I was quadrupling my money. I ended up making 10%. When you get stars in your eyes, Adam, that's disappointing.
Yeah, well, 10% is better than I've made in the last 20 days, so that's good.
Right, well, you know what? Perhaps you need a What Would Sean V Do t-shirt. So with that, we're going to get on out of here. You can follow Adam at ShipMyMoneyDFS. I am at EMACDFS on Twitter. And of course, it is Awesemo_COM. With that, gamers, good luck.